Welcome to the Happy Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and Randy, who reveal the truth, the lies, and confusion about health so that you are no longer the victim to mainstream medical dogma and you are the hero to your own happy, healthy story.
Welcome to the Happy Healthy Life Podcast with Rob and
Randy.
So thank you guys so much for listening. This is episode number 2.
Dose.
Can you believe it? So
Congratulations, man. This is feeling good. I've been so excited to get this number 2 done and create some huge momentum. And the feedback that we've gotten, I wanted to say before we get rolling here, thank you to everybody who's supported us so far. Great feedback from our pilot launch. And got to learn a little bit more about the Happy Healthy Guys, the Happy Healthy Life, a little bit about my background and story. We're going to unearth more of your story in the coming episodes. Yep. But this is important today because we recently went through something that a lot of people might have said, well, you guys are already happy and you guys are already healthy. Why would you want to go through this program? So let's dive in.
Yeah, let's dive in. And before we even get to that stuff, let's talk about number one is we got to get to the foundation of what health really is. Because I think that, as the intro said, we're unlocking the truth, the lies, and the confusion around health. And a lot of people are confused because they really don't understand, number one, what health really is.
Yeah.
I think for most people, they think health is about feeling good, eating some good food, exercising, which all those are great things. However, that really isn't truly what health is. Health is defined by the World Health Organization that says that health is a complete state of chemical, physical, emotional, spiritual well-being, not merely the absence of disease, infirmity, and or symptoms. So what in the world does that mean? It means that health really is an inside-out job, and health comes from the inside of your body. We know healthy people will be healthy, but healthy people don't get sick. And that right there is helpful to understand why it could be that you have that, quote, healthy individual that you always knew to be healthy. And the next thing you know, that person drops dead of a heart attack. Was that person actually healthy? No, not based on that definition. That person was sick.
Yeah. And let me go back and clarify for anybody listening. So when you said that healthy people don't get sick, I think sometimes healthy people get, quote, sick, but we know that getting the flu, running a fever, having diarrhea, you may have gotten, healthy people do get sick. In fact, if you would allow me to ask you a few questions, Rob.
Yes.
Have you ever thrown up before?
Of course I have.
Have you ever had diarrhea before?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they call that number 1. They call the second one number 2. Have you ever had number 3 where you're doing both at the same time?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Then you're making deals with God. Like, I'll volunteer at the orphanage every week for the rest of my life. If you just get me through this moment, because you feel how?
Yeah. You feel like crap.
You feel terrible, but the fever, the throwing up, the diarrhea, your body was doing the right thing because it was getting rid of something that your body needed to get rid of. Yet a lot of times we'd say that person's sick. That was actually a healthy response of the body. So can healthy people get sick? Healthy people can express symptoms of healing.
Yes.
In regards to, do healthy people get cancer? Do healthy people get heart disease? No, they do not. And that's a whole different level of healing that we want to help our audience and our listeners tap into.
Yeah, I remember it totally reminded me of a time when my son Jacob, he was probably about 4 years old, and he already understood that whenever he would feel bad or one of these, he was throwing up or diarrhea or any of those things, I would always say, "Hey, I guess you're expressing health." Because he didn't even know what the word sick even meant, right? He didn't have a foundation for that, which other people would think that, okay, when you're sick, you feel bad, or when you're sick, you have diarrhea, or when you have a fever, then you're sick. And I always taught him that those are healthy responses by the body.
Totally.
So I can remember that he had eaten like an entire box of this cereal. It was like an organic cereal, and it was way past his expiration. I don't even know how he found it, but he found it. He eats this box, And I never forget that he then starts expressing health. He runs a really high fever. He's got snot coming out of his nose. He starts throwing up. He gets up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and he's got diarrhea. He's sitting on the toilet and I'm sitting in front of him with the trash can because he's throwing up at the same time, going through all of this expressing health. And I never forget the look in his eyes because he looked at me and I felt terrible because he felt terrible. And as a parent, you get what I'm talking about. But he goes, Daddy, I really hate it when my body is expressing health.
Right. Because you got to ask yourself, is your body doing the right thing or is it doing the wrong thing? We have to know that the foundation of health is that your body's always doing the right thing under the circumstances. And so when it comes to health, here's the truth is you can feel bad and be healthy, and you can feel great and be sick. In fact, I don't know, I don't want to cut you off, but I remember when my father passed away from complications from cancer. This was going on, I don't know, 14 years ago. He would go to his doctor every year, get all of his tests run. And he had just recently completed that profile of tests. Doctor gave him a clean bill of health, said, Harold, you're healthy as a horse. And 6 months later, he's in a late stage cancer diagnosis and then passed away 9 months later. So was my father healthy at the doctor's visit when he gave him a clean bill of health? And the answer is no, because health isn't some event that happens in your life. It's how is your body adapting? There's no difference between health and disease. They're the exact same thing. Your body doing the right thing under those circumstances. So we want to help create the right environment where your body can express health, because health is definitely the normal, disease is the abnormal.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go and dive in. I hope that makes sense to everybody. And if anybody has any questions about that, or even what it is that we're talking about, always DM us. You can always find us at the Happy Healthy Guys on all our social media platforms, because we really want to make sure that you get this, you understand it, because that really is the foundation. Because what we know is that God didn't mess up when he designed our bodies.
No.
Our bodies are able to heal. They're able to repair. I mean, that's how a cut heals on your arm. He created us with everything that we need in order to be able to make sure that those things are happening, and they are always going to be happening under the right circumstances. So let's talk about 75 hard. Okay. So we said we were going to talk about this.
75, and it's called hard for a reason. It's not 75 average, 75 moderately challenging. It is 75 hard.
It is 75 hard. So now what is 75 hard?
Yeah, well, so I guess the genesis of how this started was I was listening to a podcast. I was actually listening to a guy named Will Kane, and he had Andy Frisella on his podcast, who is he started multiple companies, the founder and CEO of First Farm. I think that company's worth billions with a B. And he developed a program called 75.
First Form's a nutrition supplement company. Yeah, for anybody that's wondering what that is. Yeah.
And he coaches entrepreneurs and creates culture, just a really smart guy. And but I'd never really heard from him or heard his podcast, but he was the guest. And everything he said on there was like blowing my mind. And you know me, because you're wired a lot of the same way. When you know somebody's got it, you want to dial in and do what they're doing. And so this guy inspired me. He motivated me. Like we talked about earlier this morning, drinking coffee, he's aspirational, somebody that you want to somehow be like a little bit. But so I sent the podcast to you because I'm like, Rob needs to hear this too, because this is really, really good. So I sent it to you. You listened to it.
I did not listen to it.
Didn't even listen to it.
Didn't even listen to it.
All I know is you just basically Googled 75 hard.
That's exactly what I did.
And I wasn't sending it over to you to start a program. I just wanted you to be inspired like I was from this message that I was going to do nothing about physically to put into application. So you send me the text back, I'm in, as if I was like saying, hey, let's do this. That's not what I was doing. I just wanted you to hear it. So you're like, I'm in. And my immediate response was what?
Was fuck.
You didn't hear it from me
because that was your immediate response. Was that was what you said in your head, and
that
did
was
not
the
respond
silent.
back. Yeah.
Ever done the silent text? where it's usually profanity laced, but you don't hit send. And that was the text back to you. And I sat on it for 3 days and I was like, that's for somebody else. I'm already in pretty good shape, and one of the curses you can speak over your life, your family, and your health is when you start comparing yourself to other people. Like, yeah, I don't eat as bad as so-and-so. I exercise more than her. I'm a better person compared to this person. That's not what it's about. It's about being your absolute best version. In fact, Andy Frisella talks about this, which I love, is the ultimate rebellion is personal excellence. You're responsible for yourself, your health, your journey, your future, and your destiny. You're no victim here, and taking charge of your health is the key. And so when I started saying to myself that is for somebody else and that's not for me, that's when it's exactly for you. So I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this. Plus, I'm not going to let my boy, my best friend, go through this alone. We're doing this together. And that's how the program got started.
Yeah. So let's talk about what it is. So here's what 75 Hard is. So when I Googled it, here's what I saw.
Yeah, and this is why I didn't want to do it.
Yeah. And I had no idea who Andy Frisella was. And there's some reasons why when I looked at it, I said yes. It wasn't just like a knee-jerk thing. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But so 75 Hard is for 75 days. You can't cheat. There's no cheating. You have to do these different things.
Yep.
And one of those things is no alcohol for 75 days. You got to exercise 2 times a day for 75 days. One of them has to be outside
for at least 45 minutes.
For at least 45 minutes.
Yep.
You got to drink a gallon of water every day. And then you've got to take a body selfie every day so that you can be able to show progress, and then follow a nutrition plan or a diet for the 75 days. And once again, absolutely no cheating.
And did you mention you had to read 10 pages of a book?
Oh, 10 pages of a nonfiction self-improvement book.
Yes.
So if you missed even one thing, or instead of 10 pages, you read 9 pages, then you have to start all the way back from the very beginning.
Got it.
And so that's what 75 Hard is. So even as I was looking at it, like Randy was saying, is that if you're like, hey, that's not for me, then it is for you. So the one thing that I saw on there was something that's scared me for like the last 2 years. And that was the exercise part. And I would start some exercise, I say programs, but not really any kind of programs, but I would exercise a little bit and then I would stop. And the reason I did that is because 2 years ago, I had 2 back surgeries.
Yep.
And so for me, that fear was I was going to put myself back into a state of pain or injure myself. And then I also knew that I needed to be doing something as far as exercise goes. So if I was going to do something and I could do something for 75 days, I could prove to myself that, you know what, exercise wasn't going to hurt me. It was only going to do things that were going to be beneficial for me. So that's why I sent the text back saying, yes, I've got to do something. I also knew, and I mentioned this to you the other day, is that every year I write a set of goals every year. And I was looking through all of my journals from the last year for my goals for 2022 was to get myself to 155 pounds consistently and to be at a minimum of 12% body fat. And so I knew that, hey, you know what I had been doing wasn't working for me. So if what you're doing isn't working for you, it's probably time to do something different. Exactly. So it was time for me to do something different. So I needed to change. So for me, that's why I responded back. And that was why I decided, yes, I'm in.
Yeah, no doubt. And I had another big reason for me, if I'm going to be really honest and vulnerable here, is I needed to reestablish integrity with myself. I had completely lost integrity with myself because I became a liar to myself. I would say I was going to do something, and I would kind of do a version of it, or I would cut a corner. And I found myself cutting corners in a lot of areas of my life, and it can happen slowly. And before you know it, it metastasizes like a late stage cancer tumor that's been biopsied, and it's everywhere within weeks. And so I was looking at my life saying, I need to change this. I need to change that. I'm going to start this on Monday. And all the excuses I kept making. In fact, I'd been telling myself since I moved here into the Dallas area about 3.5 years ago, that I was going to get into the best shape of my life by my birthday. And Rob, you know me, I stay in pretty good shape pretty much all the time.
Oh, other people are looking at you going, that guy's a jerk. because he already looks like he's in great shape.
Yeah, but so I say in pretty good shape, right? And I don't have to do a lot of, I've worked on some metabolic things for years, and there's some good things going for me, but I wanted to get in the best shape of my life, and I've been lying to myself every year and doing a version. So this was something that was motivating me, because we had set it up where I was going to be turning 48 on May 17th, and the program was going to end around that 13th or 14th of May. And so the pain, though, of having to make change was causing me to stay in the pain that I was already currently in. And although the pain I was currently in and the unhappiness that I was feeling wasn't serving me, it was where I'd gotten comfortable.
So where would you say that the biggest challenge then was for you with doing 75 hard, or what was the thing for you that was the scariest thing for you and the reason why you may have been making some of those excuses? Because I think that for the listeners, there's that one thing for them that is scary for them to make that change, whether it be food, exercise, or something that we'll make excuses for ourselves, because we already know that anytime we would tell people that would ask us about 75 hard, we would start telling them and they would go, oh, I can do that, or I could do that, and I could do that. But there was always one thing that they were like, oh, wait a second, I don't know if I could do that, because there was a fear or a pain associated with that. So for you, what was that?
Yeah, there is, and you'll find it quick. And so it's kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you, to admit it. But I think it wasn't the exercise. It really wasn't. I love to read. It wasn't the nutrition. I love eating real food. We have a great program, by the way, that we follow and love. It was the alcohol. It really was the alcohol, because that had really become my crutch, my way of coping, especially in the evenings when I would go home and be alone. It's tough to be alone. You know, I miss certain things about a relationship or having people in my life that are no longer there. And so to go home and it felt like you've been cutting corners, you've had a hell of a day, and you're trying your best to get out of this rut, the alcohol was the easy fix. And it doesn't take long where you're consistently just numbing those emotions with alcohol. So wine in the evening, you know, a cocktail in the evening, you know, wine at lunch, and you're in that rhythm. So for me, it was kind of scary to go, you know what? Can I really even stop drinking alcohol? Who will I even be? Who will I even be? Because I already knew who I was when I was overusing it. I didn't like that person, and that was painful. So who was I going to be without it? And the pain of having to find that out was worth it, because I found out I really like actually who I am when I'm not drinking and medicating and covering up the sadness, the loneliness, or the feelings of despair that can't be fixed from the outside in anyway. So there you go. The alcohol was a little scary for me. I'm so glad that I was able to prove it to myself and reestablish the integrity back with myself, who'd already said, you know, multiple times, hey, I'm going to stop drinking for a few weeks, just get back to baseline. And I was able to commit to that. So I'm very proud of that commitment and that fear that overcame.
Yeah. And I can remember too, because it was one of those things where I think it's fantastic, but on the other side of it, I was like, that sucks for me, is like, you would say things like, yeah, I'm going to quit drinking, but when I drink, my metabolism actually gets better.
I know.
And I lose more weight. So, and I only bring that up because with 75 hard, I think a lot of people, and it doesn't matter if it's 75 hard, doing our program, doing any kind of program, a lot of people will look at those programs as a way to be able to get themselves, quote, healthier for whatever their reason is. Maybe they want to look better, they want to feel better in their own skin, but still, those are really superficial reasons. We're talking about right now goes way past that. It's more of a mental thing, an emotional thing, if I'm hearing what it is that you're saying correctly, versus really the physical part of health.
Totally. And it wasn't like I was sitting around drunk all day, not functioning, very functional, getting through life. Some people even listening are like, yeah, that's me. I get that. But the emotional side of the pain that I was feeling was being masked by that. And anytime you're using something to cope or manage on a consistent basis, that's not addressing the real issue is dangerous.
Yeah, because it's something that's actually controlling you or has power over you.
Power over me. And there's pain involved there, but you stay in it because you get comfortable in that. So I think a lot of us don't make change because of the pain that we're avoiding, that we know if we go through, we're going to be better on the other side. And I think for 75 hard, it gave me some structure and some things to commit to reestablish integrity with myself, to do what I say I was going to do, to stop cutting corners, and to prove to myself that I could function and live life and be healthy and do everything I've wanted to do and do it without being dependent on some outside in crutch or some pacifier that wasn't serving me, my family, my best friend, my company in the best way possible. So what a journey. And I did end up being in the best shape of my life as a side benefit. So the emotional strength, loving myself again, proving to myself, but also I was probably in some of the best shape. Maybe, you hate to be hyperbolic and go, yeah, at 48, I was in the best shape of my life, as if I looked better or did it maybe at 22. But I honestly think at 48 and where I was at, I think I did get to like 5 or 6% body fat, super lean, super energetic, feeling great, sleeping well. I was pretty proud of the fact that I was able to get to that level of shape and I keeping my word.
Yep. So those were your results.
Yes.
So physically, obviously there was a transformation that happened.
Yes.
So, those results were, would you say 5.1?
Yeah, I think I got 5.7% body fat.
And where did you start out? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was around 13%. So,
Okay.
I wasn't necessarily, really overweight. I was 167 pounds. I think I ended up at like 159.
Okay.
Wasn't really trying to lose the weight, but I increased my muscle mass by, I think, 5 pounds. The body fat dropped dramatically and the weight didn't shift more than about 6 pounds. So you can imagine trading body fat for muscle, improving hydration. And a lot of that too is built on our protocols that we're using to get tissues full of fluid, to hydrate the body, to get cells to absorb nutrition again. But yeah, the transformation there was like, wow. And you look at my before and after, pretty dramatic, at least for me. Some people may not see the dramatic results that I see, but I know who I was before. I know who I was after. Now I look at your before and after, it's like, oh, dear heavens, because you were really trying to go get that 20, 30 pounds that you had gained from all the surgeries and the medications that you had to be on. So let's go back to that about your journey too, because I don't want to gloss over the physical transformation that you made and all the things that you went through, because for both of us, we became stronger and the accountability that we had with each other was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, for me, it was overcoming that barrier of being able to get myself to 155 pounds. Cause I think I started at 169 when we first started.
Okay.
And then the transformation was I got to 145 pounds.
Yeah.
So how I got to there was when I got to 155, we were only like halfway in and I'm like, all right, we're only halfway in. I'm at 155. I need to continue to keep on going. One of the things that, one of the people that we listen to is Ed Milet, and he always talks about the power of one more. And I'm like, all right, let's go 1 more pound. So I reset the goal to 150. So then I got to 150. Then I'm like, all right, we still got a lot of time left. Let's go to 145. So I went down to 145. And I think for a lot of people, when they set a goal, for example, they may actually set a goal and get to it. The problem with that is just like on an air conditioner and a thermostat, it's probably going to go up a little bit. So you want to crank it down more so it stays there. And so that's what I saw for myself is really that power of one more going, I can do one more. I can do one more. And then I so I started off at 18% body fat. It was like 17.9%.
Okay.
Got down to 9.7% body fat, which I can assure you for myself, definitely the best shape of my life without a doubt. Huge transformation there. But for myself, the real transformation happened from a mental standpoint.
No doubt.
Because like you said, being in alignment with who it is that you say you are and the actions that you're taking. We were talking about that this morning because a lot of people say that, positive, everything is about positivity, right? We have this whole thing right now is it's be happy, be positive affirmations. But if you're saying, hey, I'm a fit 145-pound man, yet my actions that day are I slept until 10 o'clock in the morning. I didn't pray. I didn't meditate. I didn't work out. I didn't drink my water. I didn't follow a nutrition program. I didn't do any of those things. That's completely out of alignment with who it is that I said I was as far as that affirmation goes, which is why I think a lot of people don't do affirmations, or they stop the affirmation because they don't even believe what it is that they're saying, because their actions are not matching that. They're out of, like you said this morning, they're out of integrity with themselves. They're
Yep.
lying to themselves. And with that comes shame, guilt, all these negative emotions. And what we know, as we always talk about the body from a cellular level, is those negative emotions affect the vibration of the cells on the inside of the body, which our bodies are nothing more than a mass of cells. That right there is truly affecting your health from the inside out. And now you take that person that maybe they were eating all the right foods, maybe they are exercising, and the next thing you know, that person has a heart attack. Well, what was their mental state like? What was their emotional health? That is a huge component that we can never gloss over, which is why we strongly encourage people who are going through our program to not just be saying those affirmations. We're giving them a guide and a plan that they can actually put into action on a daily basis. And now they're in alignment with what it is that they're saying every day, and the results match it. I can't tell you how many text messages that we get from people and photos that we get from people that are like, you know what? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm 180 pounds. I started at 220 pounds, and they're showing us the before and after photo. Those people are now saying those affirmations in alignment with not only what it is that their actions are saying, they're seeing the results on the other side. So it becomes a lot more. And here's what I learned for myself about 75 Hard is to be in love with the process.
That's huge right there.
And when you're in love with the process and doing what you're doing on a daily basis, the results come. And it's just that consistency every single day and not missing a day.
It's like we talk about living life, a conscious way of living life versus living unconsciously, where you're not really thinking about what you're maybe eating for the day, or if you're exercising or not. You're almost just trying to get through the day, then from the day. So that unconscious incompetence, where you have no idea that you have no idea. And we're not wired that way. It's not the way God designed us to be. It kind of goes back to, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where it's called rodent mentality, where you've got a rat. A rat's not waking up in the morning going, you know what? I'm going to invest in my health. I want to make a difference. I've got a purpose. I want to be a great grandfather rat to see my family and kids grow up. I want to, be successful in life and make a lot of money and leave a legacy. That's not what's going through a rat's mind. They're waking up going,
they're probably going, what am I going to eat?
How do I find sex, food, shelter, not die today?
Exactly.
Survival mode. But a lot of us as humans who are created at a much higher level than a rat, we're created supremely in the image of God. We're finding ourselves going into that survival rodent mentality and living unconsciously. I can tell you the life lived by intention, that's conscious. And that's one of the things I loved about 75 Hard. And what I love even about our own program is it gives people a framework to do life with intention.
Absolutely. And then you have the accountability. It's like with our program, you have the accountability of us guiding you through that and making sure that you're doing that. So let's talk about on the other side of 75 Hard, because and I say 75 Hard, it's our program, whatever program that you're doing. But on the other side of it, I know a lot of people would say, oh, that's great, right? That's great. You're doing that right now. And okay, but after that, you're going to gain the weight back, or you're going to lose those results. You're not doing those things anymore. Or are you looking forward to day 76? What are you going to eat on day 76? What are you going to do on day 76? It's almost as like their vision of what happens is, you're laid out on the couch with a pizza on top of you and a bottle of wine, in one hand, and that you just let everything completely go.
Yeah, I think they call that program 75 South.
Yeah, exactly. So what's it been like on the other side of it? Because we finished it May 14th. So it's about a month ago.
Right.
So what has this last month been like since completing it?
No, it's been great. And it was funny because, when we would hear people say those things like, what are you going to eat, or where do you want to go, and what have you deprived yourself of? It really, in fact, we actually did, I want to say we did 76 and a half hard.
We did.
Because we waited until the very next day and that night to even have a glass of wine. I think at dinner we were celebrating and like proud and proud of our accomplishment.
Yeah.
But it wasn't this desire to want to go back in and undo what you did. What I learned is when you go through something over time and you commit over time, those 75 days were significant because there were patterns that were now developed. There were thoughts that were developed. There were, what's the word I'm looking for? Routines that you had developed that you didn't want to compromise. In fact, it took me almost 2 to 3 weeks after the program. I had to literally force myself, Rob, to not work out every single day or twice a day because I built it into my nervous system essentially and created a whole new connection with my mind, my body, my spirit, and what I knew I deserved and what I wanted for my health and my life. So there wasn't like this rushing back into, I mean, I still even have my favorite food is pizza. I still haven't had pizza and it's been over 90 days. Not that that's bad or wrong or shouldn't be enjoyed on occasion, but I don't want to undo what I did. And I think a lot of times when people go through programs, they're thinking about doing a program in order to get healthy. You need to get healthy and all the other things will change. So going back to that inside out thing. So you don't want to, do a diet to lose weight. You want to get healthy to lose weight. And that's the big difference, mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah, because that's what we say. A happy, healthy is a lifestyle.
It is.
It's not an event, right? And so looking back on it, just like you said, it's like you develop these habits, and I wanted to do a lot of those same things still. But I know because of developing those habits, I'm like, there's other habits that I can now put into, and I know I can do it because I did that. Mm-hmm. So now I can do this. So one of the things I know for myself that I said, I'm going to work out daily every single day, no matter what. And I have, whether it's walking or going to the gym or just making sure that I'm doing something. And then also making sure that I've put in a routine of first thing in the morning, making sure that I'm meditating, I'm visualizing, and I'm praying every day for 5 minutes. It doesn't sound like a long time doing those things, but I know that if I can do all of those things, and I gave myself the goal that I'll do those things for 30 days and then see where I'm at, reassess, create an awareness of where I was, where I am now, and then what do I need to change moving forward? Because what do we always say? If nothing changes, then nothing changes. And so if you're that person that's listening and maybe you're depressed, you're in a rut, you're in a funk, and you're wondering why you are where you're at, or you're feeling whatever it is that you're feeling, then you know what? Do something different, make a change, and be consistent with it, and make the commitment to yourself to do it every day. It's what you were talking about earlier, saying, hey, you know what? For myself, a long time ago, I just said, I'm going to change one thing this month, or add one thing.
Yeah, that's been and I like the word different. You have to be willing to do something different. You got to break the pattern, break the cycle. That's one of the reasons I did it too, because I'm like, I need to break this pattern. I need to break this cycle. And so when I was thinking about all the things I had to do through 75 hard, even like verbalizing it to somebody, you're thinking, God, this sounds hard. And of course, they're reaffirming that same feeling because they're like, oh my God, I could never do that. Or you're crazy. Or they're like, I could do this, but couldn't do that. They're creating their version. But once you prove to yourself you can do something and you keep your word to yourself, you just went up a whole different level with what you're capable of. And we're capable of so much, Rob. Mm-hmm. Our biggest enemy is right between our ears. It's the limiting beliefs that we believe about ourselves that are not true. So now to think about working out twice a day, as I think like halfway through the program, we start telling people about what we're doing. And I would almost feel like, they're not going to think that's even a big deal.
Totally.
Because I'm like, it's not even that hard to do this because it's what I'm committed to. Yet they're still going, I could never do that. You're crazy. That's insane. I'm like, wow, the thermostat just got raised to a whole different level. So if you feel stuck, like you said, if somebody's depressed or they've lost purpose or they feel in a rut, you need to leverage yourself, commit to doing something that's going to cause pain to make change. And by doing that, you can completely break that pattern. It's almost like when I talked about, when I was sick with cancer and I was in Spain, and I was really having a pity party and fighting. I was battling my thoughts to stay in a good place and see myself healthy. And I had to break the pattern. And I got in that car that day and I drove down to Tarifa and had a shift that day. But pattern breaks are key. And we don't do them enough.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're listening, you know what? Just make a change, do something, take action. We're here to help you. If you go to happyhealthycentral.com, there's ways to be able to help you. Talk about our program on there. If you're struggling with your metabolism, you're struggling with losing weight, you're not feeling good, you're not having enough energy. On average, people will lose 15 pounds on our program in only 35 days. And so that right there is just something to give you a tool. We don't want to sit here and talk about all these things and leave you with nothing that you can do. Well, there are things that you can do. If you don't do our program, do something, do someone else's program, do 75 hard, just do something to be able to get yourself in action.
Right.
And those actions will change things and make you feel better on the other side. We're always here to help you. One of the things that we always talk about is metabolism. What does the word metabolism mean? We talked about it last time. The word metabolism means change.
Yeah, change. So information without application
It's hallucination.
is hallucination. So information is only valuable if you do something with it. And so, yeah, if you like what you heard today,
Share
if we
it.
can help. Yeah, share this. People out there need help. They need support. They're not alone, especially anybody in the world that we kind of live in, which is this holistic world where we're not turning our health over to a system that's not equipped to help create healthy outcomes. So you are in charge of your own health. Let us help you become the CEO of your own health. You can be your own hero in your health journey. You can enjoy that process. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Randy.
I'm Rob.
We love you guys. We'll
See you next time.
Guys next time.
Thanks for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to follow them on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at The Happy Healthy Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.